No one lasted more than 2 weeks as Grant Weston's assistant. Some quit, some cried. Most were fired for offenses like using the wrong font or breathing too loud during a Zoom call. Grant, the 35-year-old billionaire CEO of Weston and Company, Capital, ruled a Chicago skyscraper like a caffeine-fueled dictator. Sharp suits, sharper tongue, and absolutely no patience for human error. He was a legend in the business world, not for kindness or charisma, but for turning small investments into empires, and for going through 18 assistants in under a year. The HR department had a folder labeled Weston Fallout, filled with resignation letters, NDA requests, and at least one emotional support therapist business card. Karen Ellis, head of HR, once joked, "We should start offering hazard pay." No one laughed. One former assistant, a Harvard grad, was fired for printing a report double-sided. Another lost their job for booking Grant's coffee order with 2% milk instead of almond. The office joke was, "Don't breathe near his espresso machine unless your resume is updated." By Wednesday, assistant number 18 stormed out muttering something about this man being allergic to peace. Karen sighed and opened her laptop, already dreading the next job listing. But on Friday afternoon, just when Karen was about to give up hope, someone unexpected walked into the lobby. Combat boots, high ponytail, no resume, just confidence. "I'm here about the PA gig," she said, popping a mint. Karen looked up. "You applied?" "Technically, no. I just heard the pay's crazy and I like chaos." Welcome to Munlet Stories, where moonlight meets myth. Love timeless tales? Then hit like, subscribe, and join the circle. Every story begins with you. The girl's name? Lena Brooks. She was broke, bold, and clearly unimpressed by Grant's reputation. Karen warned her, "You know he's fired people for less than blinking wrong, right?" Lena just smiled. "I bartended during spring break in Miami. I've seen worse." By 9 a.m. Monday, she was seated at a desk outside Grant's office, glossy monitor, 3 pens spaced evenly, and a sticky note labeled espresso. 9:03, almond milk, 145 degrees Fahrenheit. No exceptions. At 8:58, Lena slid into the break room like a caffeine ninja. She returned with the cup at exactly 9:02, placed it on Grant's desk, and stepped back. He looked up, raised an eyebrow. "Acceptable." "Great," she replied. "I aim for barely tolerable." Something in his jaw twitched. Maybe a smirk. Maybe not. The rest of the day was a blur of rapid-fire commands and impossible standards. Email legal. Reschedule Singapore. Fix slide 5. It looks like it was designed by a blind raccoon, he barked. Lena's fingers flew. Done. Scheduled. Slide 5 now has dignity. By noon, she had rearranged his calendar, prevented a PR disaster, and reminded him of his therapy appointment, which he canceled, of course. "You don't do therapy?" she asked. "I don't do weakness. You scream at spreadsheets. Therapy might help." By 5 p.m., the office was buzzing. Did he fire her? Nope. She made him laugh. As Lena logged her final email, she whispered, "Day 1. Survived. Barely." She cracked her knuckles, rolled her neck, and grinned. 1 day down. Grant Weston had finally met his match. By day 2, the office was watching. They didn't mean to stare, but no one had ever made it this far without a meltdown. Lena Brooks strolled in at 8:55 a.m., calm as ever, a travel mug in one hand and a file folder in the other. The receptionist mouthed, "You're back." Lena winked. "Unfortunately for all of you, yes." Her desk had been Westonized. Every item aligned with surgical precision. 3 pens, black, blue, red, sat perfectly spaced. A sticky note greeted her. Espresso, 9:03. Almond milk, 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't screw it up. Gee, she checked the time. 8:57. Drama, she muttered, rolling her eyes as she bolted for the break room. The espresso machine, as usual, had more buttons than a spaceship. But Lena, she'd already memorized the temperature settings. At 9:02, she walked into Grant's office. placed the cup down without a word, and stepped back. He took a sip, paused, and nodded. Acceptable. You say that like it's high praise, Lena quipped. Coming from me, it is. The chaos began immediately. Email Anita. Move the accounting call. Slide 5 still looks like a crime scene. Lena didn't flinch. Done. Moved. Slide 5 has been saved from design hell. He glanced at her. You're fast. I'm faster than your temper. That made him pause. Just for a second. By mid-morning. He was pacing during a tense call with Singapore while Lena silently typed up 2 press statements and scheduled a last-minute investor meeting. At 11:02, she opened the blinds. Exactly halfway. He glanced up, surprised. You remembered. You hate glare. You also hate repeating yourself. I listen. He blinked. Most people don't. I'm not most people. At 12 p.m., lunch arrived. Lena opened the bag, frowned. They gave you red quinoa and no dressing. Grant looked up from his laptop. Fix it. Already did. Backup salad is en route. I don't take chances with hungry CEOs. That's how lawsuits happen. He gave her a strange look, half suspicion, half admiration. Then came the real test. At 3:30, she handed him his notes for a major board meeting, neatly placed in a color-coded binder. What's this? He asked. Red tabs, urgent points. Blue, background. Yellow, egos you'll need to stroke. Also, I left a sticky note where you should pause dramatically. He flipped through the pages. It was immaculate. You reorganized my system. Yours was chaos. Mine is scary good. He stared at her. You're dangerous. You're welcome. At 5 o'clock, Lena stretched at her desk. Derek from marketing passed by and whispered, Day 2? You're still breathing. Barely, she said, grinning. But I think I've officially entered his calendar. Meanwhile, in his office, Grant Weston hadn't yelled in hours. He hadn't fired anyone. And when he looked out at Lena, calmly sipping her coffee and replying to emails, something shifted. He didn't say it out loud, but he thought it. Maybe I don't hate her. Day 5 began like every other. Lena arrived at 8:55 a.m., dodging stares and whispered bets on how much longer she'd last. Someone had even left a sticky note on her desk. Survive 2 weeks and you picked a party theme. She wrote back beneath it, Theme, your boss isn't Satan. By 9:03, Grant's almond milk espresso sat steaming on his desk, precisely 145 degrees Fahrenheit. He took a sip, glanced at her. Still hot. You're welcome. Again, she said, already halfway through 3 emails and a scheduling fix. Everything was running smoothly until 10:26 a.m. A high-pitched alarm pierced the office air. Red lights flashed. An automated voice blared. Attention, this is a fire drill. Please evacuate the building in an orderly fashion. Chairs scraped. Phones were dropped. Staff began scrambling toward the exits. Everyone except Grant Weston. He sat calmly, typing. Not a blink. Lena popped her head into his glass office. That high-pitched scream isn't in your calendar. It's a fire drill. I have a meeting in 3 minutes. It's a fire drill, not a brunch invite. I don't waste time standing on sidewalks. You also don't survive infernos. Let's go. When he didn't budge, Lena stormed in, grabbed his arm, and yanked. Up, now. You're dragging me, he protested. Welcome to the real world. Flammable chairs and overpriced espresso machines don't mix. The elevators were disabled. Of course. The stairwell was jammed with confused employees and suspicious glares. Grant looked horrified. I hate group evacuations. Don't look at Eli, Lena whispered. He's eating sunflower seeds. It's unsettling. By the time they made it to the sidewalk, Grant stood stiffly near a tree, arms folded like he was at war with the weather. Lena leaned beside him, calm. You okay? She asked. I don't like uncontrolled time. You mean free time? Normal people call it air. He exhaled, not annoyed, tired. I wasn't always like this, you know, he muttered. Like what? Obsessive, guarded, angry. She tilted her head. So what happened? I built this company thinking control was the only way to survive. Now I can't tell if I'm surviving or just aggressively existing. For once, Lena didn't joke. She nodded. Ever try letting someone in? Like actually in? He gave her a side eye. Why? Because talking to you is like trying to unlock a phone with a wet thumb. He laughed. Not a fake chuckle. A real one. She grinned. Progress. Moments later, a security guard called. All clear. Grant turned to Lena. Race you to the espresso machine. She smirked. You're on. They took off. Grant in polished Oxfords, Lena in boots, half the office watching in stunned silence. The CEO was running and laughing. By the time they returned, Derek muttered, "She's cracked him." Karen from HR just whispered, "About damn time." By the following week, the office didn't know what to make of it. Grant Weston, CEO, calendar tyrant, espresso dictator, had changed. He still wore his Navy suits, still refused Comic Sans, but he hadn't fired anyone in 7 business days. He even held the elevator for an intern on Tuesday. Held it. And Lena? She moved through Weston and Company. Capital like she'd always belonged there. Boots clicking, tablet in hand, dodging office disasters with the reflexes of someone trained in emotional bomb defusal. That Friday evening, the office had mostly cleared out, but Lena stayed, cross-legged in the guest chair of Grant's office, shoes off, typing away as he paced. They weren't talking about meetings or campaigns anymore. Just talking. "You ever stop working?" she asked. Grant didn't look up. "I don't know what that means." "You know, like fun, downtime, joy." He paused. "I watched a documentary on jellyfish once." She blinked. "That's your idea of fun?" "They're fascinating. Technically immortal. Of course. Your favorite animal is a creature that doesn't die and doesn't sleep. Makes sense." He smirked. "They're efficient." "You know what else is efficient? Popcorn and Netflix." He didn't respond, but something in his face shifted. Curiosity, maybe. The next Monday at 9:03 p.m., he knocked on her door with a bowl of popcorn and no explanation. She blinked. "Don't say a word." He stepped in. Saturday. Ate popcorn. Progress. Over the next few days, Lena noticed more changes. He started asking her real questions. "What do you think of this rebrand? Should we restructure the finance workflow? Do I sound like a psychopath when I speak that fast?" She answered honestly. "Always. Only when your eye twitches," she told him once. He stared. She stared back. Then, without breaking eye contact, she tossed him a lemon-shaped stress ball. "For when the twitch starts, squeeze. Don't scream." He used it. One night, as the city lights flickered beyond his window and their desks glowed under warm office lamps, Grant leaned back in his chair, unusually quiet. "What are you thinking about?" Lena asked softly. He hesitated. I don't hate having someone around who doesn't flinch when I speak." She smiled, leaning against the edge of his desk. "Is that your version of saying you like me?" "Don't ruin it." Too late. They didn't call it anything. Didn't name what was building between them, but the energy had shifted. The office felt lighter. He laughed more. She stayed longer. One evening, she found a small box on her desk. Inside, a lavender stress ball shaped like a cat, a new wireless mouse, and a handwritten note. "You were right about the orange." "Gee." She stared at it for a long moment, then carefully folded the note and tucked it into her drawer like a keepsake. "Progress," she whispered. And outside, the city pulsed with life. But inside that office, something else was growing, quiet, steady, real. It started with Lena leaning against the doorway of Grant's office, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. "Okay," she said. "Spill it. What's going on with you?" Grant looked up from his laptop, eyebrows raised. "What do you mean?" "You smiled at the elevator guy this morning." He complimented my tie. "You thanked him." It was a genuine compliment. "You once refused to shake a client's hand because he pronounced espresso as espresso." He paused. "That was different." "Uh-huh." He closed the laptop gently, a rare show of non-aggression. The annual Investor Gala is tonight. Ah, she said, connecting the dots. That explains a power suit. It's that extra drama in the stitching. It's tailored, he said flatly, and intimidating. You look like you should be carrying a briefcase of secrets and a villain monologue. He ignored that. Look, it's a formal event. I'm expected to bring someone. She blinked. You're asking me? I trust you. You're composed. You won't let me commit felony assault if someone uses Comic Sans on a presentation. So I'm your assistant and your emotional bouncer? You clean up well. I'm flattered, she said, smirking. And yes, on one condition. What's that? I get to wear heels taller than you. Grant sighed. You're insufferable. You're secretly flattered. He didn't deny it. That evening, Lena stepped into the ballroom of the Wexler Grand Hotel at 7:02 p.m., wearing a black off-shoulder gown that made time stop. Her hair was swept up, a few curls falling artfully to frame her face. Gold earrings glinted against her skin. Confidence wrapped around her like perfume. Grant, mid-conversation with a hedge fund founder, turned, saw her, and forgot what he was saying. She approached him with a grin. Wow, this place is so shiny. I can see my anxiety in the floor. He stared. You look different. I'll take that as a compliment. It is. They moved through the gala like a team. Lena charmed donors, redirected awkward conversations, and kicked Grant lightly under the table when he started glaring at a rival CEO. He watched her with a mix of awe and amusement. She was smooth, sharp, and completely unbothered. She didn't just survive the night. She owned it. Later, as they stood under the valet awning, the city lights dancing on the pavement, the rain teasing the edges of the skyline, Grant shoved his hands in his pockets. You were incredible tonight, he said. I know, Lena teased, but thanks. You made it bearable. That's what I do, handle chaos, and you are premium-grade chaos. He turned toward her. Do I really seem that unmanageable? Not unmanageable, she said quietly, just guarded. He didn't look away. I've spent most of my life building walls. No one gets through. She stepped closer. Maybe some people don't want to tear them down. Maybe they just want to sit beside them. A beat, too. Then he whispered, You're not just company, Lena. The kiss that followed wasn't dramatic. It was deliberate, gentle, grounding, a shift. And when they pulled apart, she whispered, This complicates things. For once, he said, smiling, I don't mind messy. The Monday after the gala was strange. Not in the Grant Weston fired 3 interns before noon kind of way, but in the quiet kind of strange. The kind that made people look up from their keyboards and whisper, Did you see the way he smiled at her? I think he said thank you out loud. He complimented someone's pitch deck. I think we're in a simulation. Lena Brooks returned to the office at 8:55 a.m. like clockwork. Hair in a bun, tablet in hand. Espresso already prepped to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. She passed Marcus in marketing, who whispered, He hasn't barked at anyone yet. What did you do to him? I taught him emotional regulation, she deadpanned. Step 1, almond milk. Step 2, boundaries. By mid-morning, Grant hadn't slammed his desk once. He hadn't corrected anyone's grammar mid-sentence. He hadn't called anyone an organizational hazard. Instead, he stood beside Lena at the conference table, actually listening as she pitched a realignment plan for Q3. Great call on this adjustment, he said to the room. Lena saved us 3 weeks of backtracking. Silence. Everyone froze. A muffin dropped. Lena sipped her coffee. Cool as ever. You're welcome. Now tell them I also stop you from approving that awful orange logo. Grant raised an eyebrow. I will deny that until the day I die. You picked orange, Grant. I was tired. You were possessed. He laughed. In front of people. Todd from accounting whispered to Marcus, Okay, she's officially changed him. That afternoon, Lena returned from lunch to find a small lavender box on her desk. Inside, a new wireless mouse to replace the one she'd been fighting with all week, and a sticky note that simply read, You were right about the orange. Gee. She smiled and slid the note into her drawer next to the other one. The first keepsake from a man who once treated human emotion like a software bug. Later that evening, she stayed late, typing while Grant reviewed contracts across the room. The city glowed beyond the glass windows. The only sound was the soft hum of quiet companionship. "You know," he said, not looking up, "you've completely wrecked my systems." She tilted her head. "Is that a complaint?" "No, you messed up my logic, my timelines, my plans, and I haven't hated a second of it." Lena didn't answer right away. She just smiled, slow and knowing. "You're allowed to feel things, Grant," she said, "even if it doesn't fit in a spreadsheet." He met her eyes, and for once, he didn't hide behind a smirk or a smart remark. "I think about you," he said quietly, "even when you're not here." Lena's heart skipped, just once, but she didn't show it. Instead, she whispered, "Then maybe I'll have to stay longer." He didn't reply. He didn't need to, because somewhere between the deadlines and the drama, something real had begun to take root. And for the first time in his adult life, Grant Weston didn't want control. He just wanted her to stay. Friday morning felt off. Lena noticed at the moment she stepped into the office. The usual buzz was subdued. Grant's door, normally cracked open by 8:59, was shut tight. She dropped the espresso on his desk at exactly 9:03. He barely looked up. "Thanks," he muttered. No acceptable. No sarcastic comment. Just silence. Lena narrowed her eyes. "You okay?" "Fine." That one word lie told her everything. By noon, he was short with the finance team, ignored Derek's report, and even rejected the protein bars she restocked in case of emergency mood swings. Then at 2:12 p.m., he called her in. "Close the door," he said. She did. He was standing by the window, arms folded, jaw clenched. "This isn't working," he said. Lena tilted her head. "The investor strategy?" "No. Us." A beat. "Two." Her pulse dropped. "Care to elaborate? Or are we doing the cold exit strategy?" she asked. Steady. "You're too comfortable. Too casual. Too disruptive." She blinked. "Disruptive? You mean I don't flinch when you bark?" He didn't answer. "You hired me because I'm not afraid of you. Because I speak your language and also translate it for the rest of the world." Still silence. "I'm not here to coddle your control issues," she added. "I'm here to help you run a company without losing your mind." Grant finally turned. "I'm used to people doing what I say." "Maybe that's a problem," she said. "You don't want a partner. You want an echo." He winced. Lena stood, grabbed her bag, her voice low and calm. "I've been fired before, Grant. By cowards. By insecure men who mistook independence for disrespect. But this," she gestured around his sterile, spotless office. "This is new. You needed me. You just weren't ready to admit it." She turned toward the door. He didn't stop her. Not with words. Not with a look. 10 minutes later, Lena sat on a bench outside the building, scrolling job listings with a tight jaw and sore heart. In his office, Grant stared at the untouched espresso, growing cold by the second. Something in the room felt emptier, like he'd just unplugged the only working charger in his life. He picked up his phone and called HR. "Karen," he said, "tell me you didn't delete her profile." "Of course not," Karen replied. "I figured this was one of your psychotic self-sabotage moments." It was, "She's not coming back because you're predictable. You know that, right?" "I know." And then he sent the text. "You're rehired. Effective immediately. Espresso privileges doubled. Please come back." Lena stared at it. Then another one followed. "Also, I can't find the investor deck. It's labeled with emojis now. Help." A pause. Then she typed back, "Double my coffee breaks. And I want a new chair. This one's ruining my spine." Grant, "Deal. Just don't walk out again." Lena, "Too late. You'll never get that dramatic exit back." He smiled, for the first time that day. And Lena? She stood up, brushed off her blazer, and walked back inside. Lena walked back into Weston and Company. Capital like nothing had happened. Well, almost nothing. The entire office clapped when she stepped out of the elevator. Karen from HR raised an eyebrow. Derek handed her a sticky note shaped like a crown that read, "Only person fire Grant and survive." Lena just grinned. He's obsessed. By Monday, things had returned to their chaotic version of normal. Only this time it was different, softer, less guarded. At 10 a.m., Grant poked his head out of his office. "Where's my espresso?" She held it up. "If you yell before 10:15, it turns into decaf." He smirked. "You're evil." "I'm effective." Later that week, during a routine fire drill, Lena had to physically drag him out of the stairwell again. He hated crowds, hated noise, hated idle time. As they stood on the sidewalk, Lena leaned against a tree while Grant glared at the sky like it had personally betrayed his schedule. "You ever take a day off?" she asked. "I don't believe in them." "That explains why your idea of a hobby is fixing Google Calendar bugs." "I have hobbies." "Please, color-coding your inbox is not a hobby." He sighed. Not annoyed, tired. "I wasn't always like this," he said. "Back when I started this company, I thought I had to outwork everyone, prove something. Now I can't tell if I'm leading or just managing chaos." Lena studied him for a second. "You don't have to carry it all alone, you know. I don't trust people easily." "You trust me." A pause, a longer one this time. "I'm trying to." That night, after the office had emptied, Lena stayed late, curled up in the guest chair, typing away while Grant reviewed a legal brief. She was barefoot. He had his sleeves rolled. No masks, no rolls. Just two people in the same room, breathing the same quiet air. She looked up. "You ever think about letting someone in? Like fully in?" He glanced at her. "You mean like emotionally?" "No, I mean like into your espresso vault." She grinned. "Yes, emotionally. I've tried, and didn't go well." "Well, try again with someone who's not terrified of you." He chuckled. "Anyone come to mind?" She tilted her head. "Maybe." He stood, walked over slowly, then leaned against the desk beside her. "You're dangerous," he said softly. "You're stubborn," she replied. He reached out, gently tucked a curl behind her ear. The silence stretched between them, no longer tense, just full. Then quietly, "I think about you when you're not here." Lena's breath hitched, but she didn't look away. She didn't need to say it back. Her eyes already had. When he leaned in this time, she didn't meet him halfway. She waited, let him choose it. And he did. The kiss was slow, intentional. A moment of truth in a life built on schedules and silence. When they pulled apart, he didn't retreat. He just said, "You really did ruin my systems." She smiled. "Good. You needed better ones." By Friday morning, Weston and Company. Capital was buzzing, but not because of the markets. It was them. Whispers moved faster than emails. From the break room to the boardroom, everyone had a theory about the shift between Grant Weston and Lena Brooks. "I swear I saw him smile yesterday," Derek muttered, peeking through the glass walls of Grant's office. "No way," Karen from HR replied. He laughed. "Full-on human noise. Twice. Maybe she hexed him. Or maybe," Eli added, sipping his latte, "he's just happy?" That was the real shock. Grant wasn't barking at interns. He didn't rewrite Lena's to-do list in red pen. He even paused a call to the London office to ask Lena if she'd eaten lunch. Whatever had happened between them after hours, it was rewriting more than calendars. Meanwhile, Lena stayed grounded. She still wore her chunky boots and sharp comebacks, still handed him black coffee and called him Bossy Boots when he got too demanding, but her eyes lingered longer when she looked at him now. And when he walked past her desk, he'd sometimes let his fingers brush the corner gently, like she was his anchor. It wasn't official, but it was undeniable. One afternoon, Grant pulled her aside after a strategy meeting. "Want to get out of here?" he asked. "I thought you didn't do spontaneous." "I'm learning." He drove her to Millennium Park. They sat by the fountain, surrounded by tourists and soft jazz from a nearby saxophonist. Grant looked oddly comfortable, watching kids splash water while Lena devoured a hot pretzel. "I used to come here before the IPO," he said, "when things felt too heavy. And now," he turned to her, "now I come because you remind me what light feels like." She choked on her pretzel. "Okay, Mr. Weston." That was dangerously close to poetic. He laughed. "Maybe you're rubbing off on me." She smiled. "That's the goal." Back at the office, the team kept pretending they didn't notice a shift, but the morale was different. Lighter, hopeful. Even Karen, the stone-hearted head of HR, cracked a smile when Grant complimented someone's pitch deck. By the end of the week, an anonymous note appeared in the break room to whoever gave the CEO a heart. "Keep going," from the team that's been waiting for this version of him. Lena saw it and folded it quietly into her notebook, because even if they didn't make some big announcement, the people around them felt it. That love, real love, was changing things, not with drama, not with grand gestures, but with coffee at 10:15, with smiles that used to be sighs, with trust being built like a house, slow and solid. And for the first time in years, Grant Weston didn't just feel successful, he felt seen. Sunday afternoon brought a quiet Grant Weston to Lena Brooks' apartment, a cozy, plant-filled third-floor walk-up in Lincoln Park, Chicago. No driver, no blazer, just him in a plain white shirt, jeans, and the most vulnerable look she'd ever seen on his face. Lena opened the door mid-laundry, hair in a messy bun, sweatshirt falling off one shoulder. "You're early," she said, folding a towel. "I needed to see you," he replied, stepping in. "No meetings, no filters." She nodded toward the couch. "You get 5 minutes before the dryer buzzes." He didn't sit. "That night on the rooftop," he said, voice lower now, "when you asked what I was afraid of, I remember. I didn't answer, and you didn't push, but I owe you more than silence." Lena turned to him, arms crossed, not angry, just ready. "I'm scared of being loved only for what I can give. Power, money, status. It's how I've been used, even by family. So when you saw me, really saw me, and didn't want anything in return, I panicked." Lena let out a breath. "I didn't need you to be perfect, Grant. Just honest. I know, and I want to be, with you." He pulled something small from his pocket, a delicate gold compass pendant on a chain. "My mother gave this to me when I got my first job. She said, 'Wherever you go, let love point north.' I forgot that until you." Lena blinked, stunned. "It's not a proposal," he added quickly. "Unless you want it to be, it's a promise that I'm choosing us. And I'm not running from it this time." Silence fell between them. Then she stepped forward and whispered, "You really are the softest tyrant I've ever met." He smiled, slipping the necklace into her hand. "So, is that a yes?" She leaned up and kissed him, soft, certain. "That's a hell yes." Later that week, the team at Weston & Company noticed a new addition to the leadership bio on the company website. Lena Brooks, Director of Special Projects, former executive assistant, now a partner in more ways than one. Karen from HR didn't even pretend to be surprised. At the year-end gala, held under city lights with champagne flutes and string quartets, Grant and Lena danced, quietly, confidently, while the rest of the firm watched in awe, because love didn't just change him. It changed everything. And for the first time, the office whispered not about scandal, but about hope.